Welcome to Gloria's Gab Live. If you are watching this live, you know it's the first day of the public schools are back in session. So I cannot believe I did this, but I actually am making a student late for school. My two guests today are old friend of mine, Scott Sime Realty, and Jordan Cancel. Jordan is like a student at Coral Reef High School and IB student there, and I'm making him late for school. But and we got his dad Kareem over there. Thanks for coming. Anyway, before we start, this show is all about mentorship. And before we start, I have to thank my show sponsors. We've got Baraha Medical Institute, a Quigley eye specialist company, 2550 Douglas Road. They are amazing. They do everything from optometry to ophthalmology to surgeries. If you need, those little saggy eyelid lifts, Dr. Baraha is amazing. And our other sponsor is everybody's favorite South Florida PBS, and they have so many great programs going on right now. So if you're not a member, I suggest you sign up. So let's get started. Scott, I've known forever. We danced in Coral Gables Junior Women's Club Cabaret years ago, and he is like amazing. He's on a lot of different boards. He helps out he's on the board of the Lighthouse for the Blind. You're on the Orange Bowl committee, and as a former Junior Orange Bowl executive director, I'm a big fan of all of our festivals, but especially the Orange Bowl. And so mentorship is something that you were doing already. I know you're involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters,
Right.
But you came across Jordan, and Jordan is like a crazy kid that has more energy and just go get them attitude. And you have quite an interesting resume too. But let's talk about first of all, how you got together, because that's a great story.
Sure.
You want to share that?
So we're my wife and I. We have a real estate company. We do commercial and residential real estate. And one day, my wife and I were driving around, Belinda and I, and the phone rang, and she had it on the speakerphone, and it was Jordan. We didn't know Jordan from Adam, and he starts asking questions about big houses and who buys them, who sells them, and what do you have to do to end up owning a big house like this. And my wife Belinda's like, who is this guy? Go pound sand. She's ready to hang up, and I said, no, wait, don't. Something's interesting here. So I said, give me the phone. So I start talking to Jordan, and I said, well, why are you calling? He says, well, I'm a high school student, and I'm just curious about business. I want to learn. I want to find out, how to advance myself in the entrepreneurial, way. And so we developed a relationship from that phone call, and we started talking. I would say maybe once a week for maybe 3 or 4 months, and just really delved into kind of what he wanted to do with his life, what he wanted to do with his career, his business, where he was in school. And we developed a friendship, and, I guess a
Ongoing.
mentorship is, informal mentorship.
Yeah.
And,
Well, the funny thing is, he's so accomplished anyway.
Yeah.
For a high school student, you were student body vice president for what, 3
Correct.
years?
3 years.
Yeah,
Yes,
and your president, it was the future.
Future Business Leaders of
Business Leader-
America. Yes, I'm vice
Right.
president on the competitions committee for that club.
Right. And then do you also do debate? Is that extemporaneous? Or I know you won some kind of.
So for Future Business Leaders of America, I ended up winning first place in the district level competition for impromptu speaking.
Right.
Mhm.
So, I have my daughter was in debate, actually both of them. So I used to do those competitions. So hats off to you, because
Thank
that's
you so
kind of
much.
a tough one.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And for somebody especially, I can't believe all you've done. And we had quite a little conversation earlier about how you were going door to door to meet people initially
Yes.
before you came across, Scott and Belinda.
Mhm.
So do you want to tell us what you did that is so
Absolutely.
out of the ordinary?
Absolutely. So what I ended up doing is kind of like I created a list of questions in terms of trying to find a mentor, kind of create a list of questions that I can maybe ask certain individuals that can maybe lead to a mentorship later on. And so what I ended up doing is I went to kind of like a nearby affluent neighborhood nearby where I live. And the goal was to knock door to door. The goal was to knock door to door. However, a lot of these houses had gates before that door. So what ended up happening is I was kind of a little nervous to kind of like, ring the gate button. So what I tried to do is, for example, I remember there was a gentleman washing his car in his front yard, and I didn't want to press the button by the gate, and we couldn't get to the door. So what I ended up doing is I tried to, maybe wave him down and things like that. However, he did acknowledge me. He did end up looking at me and he did see me. However, he just continued about his business and continued about his day. So I said, okay, no worries. We'll try another one. So I did that for I would say 5 or 6 times. I would say trying to go door to door, maybe waving down people, things like that. I remember there was people cutting grass in a house and I said, oh, can you, try to get me the owner of the house? I would love to speak to them, things of that nature. However, I was getting constantly turned down in that sense. So what I ended up doing is I, wanted to get a clear headspace. So I just walked straight on the sidewalk of, just of 88th Street. And I just walked, just trying to figure out what I'm going to end up doing next, what's going to be my next step. Because I of course knew that the things that I wanted to get done and getting a mentor and having a mentorship for like a long period of time, that wasn't going to happen overnight, of course. So what I decided to do was I was just kind of like looking around, seeing all kinds of, real estate signs, just lease, just for sale, homes like that with Compass and Sotheby's and other real estate businesses. But I did see Sime Realty quite a lot in the Pinecrest, Coral Gables area. So I said, okay, perfect. I see that these for sale houses and this company is pretty active in this area. So I decided I was going to call, and the goal was, okay, I'm going to speak to a representative and hopefully maybe I'll get in contact with them and maybe try to ask them how they interact with their clients and things of that nature, so it can help me try to find a mentor later on. So what I ended up doing is I did end up calling, and Belinda ended up answering. And one of my first questions was, oh, how do you interact with your wealthy clientele? And she was pretty off-put by that. She was, who are you? Who's this? Who's that? And so I kind of gave her a quick rundown. I gave her my little introduction and such. And I wasn't aware Scott was listening. Yeah. So I did give her my introduction. I, told her what I wanted to do. She did give me kind of like a rundown as to how she would have handled certain things. Because, she told me, if you think about it from the homeowner's perspective, their home is their sanctuary. It's where they feel the most vulnerable, which is understandable. It's absolutely understandable. And so what she ended up telling me next, after I kind of gave her my introduction and spoke to her, she said, oh, I have a number you can call. Call this number. His name is Scott. So that's all I knew. And I was on the side of the road on the sidewalk. I dropped all my things. I put out a notepad. I wrote down the number and I said, okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So I ended up walking to a nearby Starbucks. And that's when I called Scott. And I spoke to Scott and said, oh, hi, Scott. This is Jordan. I'm not too sure if you know who this is, but Belinda referred me to you, unaware that they were married. So I did end up calling, and we spoke on the phone for, I would say, 45 minutes to an hour, that first phone call, where he actually allowed me to ask the questions that I wanted to ask. And I was extremely intrigued, and I was so beyond grateful that he gave me that much of his time, because I was aware, he's extremely busy. So I ended up speaking to him for that roughly 45 minutes to an hour segment. And then that's when he said, okay, I'm willing to mentor you. What would you like from this mentorship? And he was going to try his best to provide that. And that's what he ended up doing. And, we spoke regularly from that point on, and that's where we are today.
Well, when he first called and told me about you, he said, oh, he just raved about you. And he says, no, we talk on the phone for like 45 minutes at a time. We talk about finances. We talk about everything. Mm-hmm. And pretty impressive. Actually, you are such a great example of how one person can affect another. Mm-hmm. And Jordan, you are just, crazy amazing. And we were laughing about how, can you imagine somebody that age going door to door, knocking on doors and trying to get people to open the door for you? Everybody, I'm sure, thought you were selling magazines.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. When I've had people knock on my door, and they're about your age, it's always, they're selling magazines to go to college, whatever. And you get suckered in. Yeah. So they probably thought, oh no, I don't need another magazine, So I'm sure that some of the rejects you got were because people thought you were
absolutely,
that way. But so what now, I know you interned for a while. Mm-hmm. And what year are you in?
I'm going to be going into my junior year of high school now.
You're only going into your junior year? Oh my gosh. Okay. Tell us your aspirations.
Absolutely. So for my aspirations as of right now, I'm going to talk about kind of like after high school, post high school.
Exactly.
So right after high school, I'm of course going to have my high school diploma, and I'm also going to have my IB diploma, which is going to kind of like an international diploma that'll follow me throughout my lifetime. And right after high school, I plan to enroll into the University of Pennsylvania Wharton School of Business, where I plan to attend undergrad for roughly 4 years. And my goal is to kind of enroll into one of their interdisciplinary dual degree programs, which is the Huntsman program, which is where I can kind of get 2 degrees from that one school in my undergrad year, and it'll like, follow me throughout. So the plan is to go there for 4 years, get a high quality, amazing education from that school. And then for after that, what I would love to do is end up pursuing a career after undergrad to go into Goldman Sachs. The goal is to kind of go to Goldman Sachs and kind of enroll in their investment banking portion, where the goal is to work there for 2 to 3 years, maintain a really high network, and kind of maintain my legacy with there while maintaining my connections and being a UPenn alumni, hopefully. And right after that, my goal is to kind of like start my own business, where I would start my own business and, have a high quality networking from UPenn's Wharton School of Business, also Goldman Sachs networking, start my own business and really get involved in real estate. The goal is real estate, and kind of branch out. So those are the goals in the next few years.
You've got a great mentor for that.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. I don't, there's probably not anybody in Miami-Dade County that is more respected in that field. So you really, you just came across, looked onto a great mentor. And so Scott, I know you're involved in Big Brothers Big Sisters, and so tell us about some of your other nonprofit activities and what you're doing with Lighthouse for the Blind. I know that every year you have a Christmas party. Didn't have one in 2020, but they collect so many gifts for kids at Lighthouse for the Blind that Lighthouse quit collecting from other places. They just said, no, we get so many from Scott and Belinda's party. So tell me what's happening with the Lighthouse too.
Well, the Lighthouse is doing great. Virginia Jacko, the president and CEO, has just been amazing.
She's amazing.
Yeah. And they've added on to their building. Her continued donation base has grown. And what we do is we have a fundraiser at our house. We ask everybody to bring a toy or 2 toys for a certain age group, and it just piles up. And then it's so fun because when you take the best part of it is when you take the toys to the Lighthouse and you see the kids getting those toys once they're delivered there, and they have a big party. And so we've done that every year. To your point with COVID, we last year we didn't do it, but we are doing it this year, so that's going to be exciting.
Good. Tell me, how did COVID affect the programs they were able to do at the Lighthouse?
They just had to implement all the standard safety issues protocols. And just like anybody, I think it's it was a disruption for their normal course of business, but they've done really well through the pandemic, and they're going to be stronger and better and continue doing good things in the community.
So it's funny because the reason that you called me was you said, listen, I want to help Jordan get more involved in the community. And I'm going, okay, so got chili cook-off coming up, but now we found out that we had to postpone chili cook-off until 2022. But as we come across different service projects that we're involved in, either at Rotary or the Coral Gables Women's Club, whatever it is, we can always use hands-on. And you are going to be such a good person for us to call on when we need some muscle and some brains. But when he was working for you, I'm sure he learned a lot just about the business through osmosis.
Yeah, I mean, what I found with Jordan when I started working with him was his social intelligence. For somebody who at the time was in 10th grade, and just his ability to listen, to comprehend everything I challenged him to do, he would do above and beyond. I mean, we got into very detailed financial analysis, and we deal with a lot of people in our business, and candidly, most of them didn't comprehend and follow up the way Jordan did. I would give them an assignment and say, go tell me what Warren Buffett is investing in this month. Tell me the annual return of Apple Computer stock. And then I'd give him a group of terms and definitions, and he'd go look at them and research. And, part of being successful in this business is doing what you say you're going to do. You're being conscientious.
The follow-up.
And this is what he's the complete package, because he's intelligent, he speaks well, he's not afraid to knock on doors and
obviously
and be rejected, because I'm sure he got a lot of rejection there. I mean, and so, it's just been a pleasure to spend time with him and watch his growth and add whatever I can, to the equation.
I am just so delighted that you introduced me to him. We talked a lot on the phone before, but what a treat to be able to meet a young person that's so motivated and so obviously intelligent. And I'm sure you have classmates that are thinking, how did he get on TV? Well, I guess if they go after a mentor like Jordan did, maybe good. So Jordan, the apple doesn't fall far from your stepdad. Kareem is over here in the corner. Shout out. Oh, and by the way, shout out to Howard, to our producer, doing a great job for us always. And I apologize, no banana nut bread today. But so tell me, coming up next, are you going to have your Christmas party this year?
We are. Yes. Yeah, we're going to do it in mid-December, and Belinda's all excited about that. And, I'm kind of excited because it's a lot of work, but we're going to do it again this year.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to bring Jordan to the party.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You have no idea how big this party.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to, and your poor neighbors.
Well, they come.
Yeah,
the key, Gloria,
they're all invited because we're parking on their lawns.
Right.
Yeah.
And creating a lot of noise.
Yeah, exactly. But it's such a great party. But it's so great to see how many gifts you collect.
Yeah, it's nice.
I went in one time afterwards, and their dining room, you couldn't see the dining room table for all the gifts. It was that many. It was hundreds. How many? Do you remember the last time? How many hundred?
I think 700-800 toys is kind of what we've been. And
then transporting them, how many?
Well,
trips?
we ended up getting a lot of gifts. So what we did was we started involving the Nicholas Children's Hospital.
Okay.
So what we would do is give the majority of the gifts to the Miami Lighthouse, but then we would have extras. So then we started going down to
sharing.
To the Children's Hospital, and that's been a great thing too.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's been nice.
Yeah, and Nicholas is an ongoing sponsor for the Junior Orange Bowl.
Yeah,
they've been doing that for years and years, and so we okay? Yeah. So so okay, so that's one of the many things you do. What's happening with the Orange Bowl? Give us an update on that.
Yeah,
I mean, to call Eric Palms.
The Orange Bowl is doing great as usual. I mean, it's been it's been a new path with COVID in the stadiums, and how do you attend a bowl game? This year we're very excited because we're going to have a playoff game, which will be really exciting because it'll be down to the top 4 teams, and we'll have 2 of the top 4 playing in the semifinals to see who plays for the national championship. So those are the exciting years, or more exciting years, with Orange Bowl, because it's going to be a hot ticket, and and hopefully we can get the the COVID thing under control by then, so we get back to stadium, but we'll see what happens there.
Now, speaking of COVID and the vaccinations, you've had your vaccinations, and how is that working? How do you see that happening in your school? Are kids now getting it?
Yeah. I would definitely say, with kind of like the rise and things like that, and kind of like the emphasis on, protecting yourself and things like that, I can definitely say that within my school, we're kind of implementing a lot more kind of like cautionary procedures when it comes to kind of like, the whole maintaining and making sure we keep an emphasis on children's safety. And I think that's something that the school is focusing on. And also, for example, kids my age, because once again, we're in high school, so we're a lot more aware. We see the news, we understand the facts of certain things. So that's why I would say a lot of more kids are kind of like emphasizing the vaccine nowadays, and getting the vaccine as well.
And getting the vaccine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's something that, you know, it's such a hot topic, but I'm a believer, and I've got my third one already.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
Yeah.
Good for
So,
you.
well, I got one of the first ones, so it was time for me to get another one. But I'm so happy to have it. But I still wear my mask
Yeah.
because you never
Absolutely.
know. You know, these breakthroughs happen. So, um, what else are you involved in? I know I had a list of stuff because this guy is very busy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Besides Nicholas and Big Brothers, Big Sisters,
Yeah.
how did you get involved in that?
I've always wanted to do the Big Brothers program. I did it when I was in college, and I just found it very rewarding. And so I
Do you,
have a young man that I'm, he's going into his junior year,
oh yeah.
and it's just been fun to kind of get into his world and see what's of interest to him. And
Hmm.
we've done a lot of fun things, and so that's been great. I've done the mentoring program at the University of Miami also.
Oh, you did?
I
Yeah, I
did,
had a
yeah.
friend doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really rewarding. So I try to do those type of things. People, when I was young, people took an interest in me and shared with me some of the same things I'm sharing with Jordan, and
Yeah.
it really helped me get a leg up in my business and my personal career. So I enjoy it. I love it, Gloria. It's
Yeah.
a lot of
Well,
fun.
I know,
So,
obviously. Yeah.
and it's been fun with Jordan because he's very smart, and we talk about things, we talk about strategies. He wants to get into a wonderful college. And so one of the things we did was, okay, you're going to make good grades, you're going to score high on your exams, but then there's the personal element, the human element of
Yeah.
these decisions. So we delve into those types of things, like, okay, let's get a list of everybody who is on that decision making panel. So he went out, he sourced any and everyone who would be influential in the decision to allow him to get into Wharton. And then write them a letter, start taking an interest in them so that they know you, and when your name comes across their desk for the application, there's going to be thousands of people wanting to get into that school. They'll recognize him, and he'll have a better
And
chance.
how did you figure out how to do that?
I would say kind of like when it came to, once again, Scott and social intelligence, in the sense that he really taught me how to strategize certain things. Because for me, of course, I could talk, I can kind of be like an ambitious young man. However, he taught me kind of like specific strategies when it came to it. And that specifically, that really changed my perspective on a lot of different things when it came to understanding, like, the emotional, the social aspect of different things. And once again, I would say the internet helps a lot. So you do have a lot of this information at your fingertips. I'm able to research the people, be aware of who they are, what their names are, what position and what value they hold to the school and things like that. And I'm able to kind of like make it more personal and like cater to them in that sense, which is, I would say, a really helpful and interesting strategy that Scott was able to teach me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm learning a lot right now. It's like, why didn't I have a mentor? I learned everything the hard way. No, but I'm sure that I did have people that gave me tips along the way,
Mhm.
but not you know, what you would say as a mentor. But there are people that guide you along the way. We were just talking with Michael Miller earlier about how we all know people that somehow changed our lives and made us, better. For me, public speaking was awful,
Yeah.
awful. And I remember one of the first times I had to speak in front of the Chamber of Commerce. I was introduced by a friend of mine, Tom Bobby. I don't know if you remember him, Bobby's office supply years ago,
Mm.
and and he introduced me to this amazing woman, and I go, well, I'll just go up there and pretend I'm this amazing woman.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
but he gave me, it was so flourishing. But I thought, and it gave me confidence. So when I got on stage, I was like, piece of cake, but and then gradually I came out of my shell. I don't have any problem public speaking anymore, obviously. um, but for you, did you ever have that when you first started talking in front the public. Did you ever have that, Jordan, that you were a little afraid? Because I now I know you're a speaker. Obviously, you've gotten over it if you ever had it.
Yes, absolutely. I would definitely say, for example, it honestly all started in elementary school. It
Really?
did start in elementary school where I started getting exposed to kind of like speaking in front of the class and things like that. Because in elementary school, my specific elementary school, which was Air Base Elementary, my English teacher emphasized speaking and being, like really hands-on, and like emphasized being like, persevering through different things. So like when we would have, for example, like individual assignments or group assignments and things like that, a lot of kids would have to kind of like, come up to the class and, just speak, talk about this, talk about that. And of course, some kids did struggle, and so did I. I was extremely nervous. I did stutter quite a lot. And then as time went on, same thing happened in middle school. I was still nervous. However, I started to be able to learn how to go about it. I started to become more comfortable and things like that. However, I would say definitely in high school is when I started to become a lot more comfortable when it came to public speaking. And for example, I knew it was something that would help me in the future, being able to publicly speak and also being able to talk to, adults and things like that. So which is why my freshman year, which is when I first started Future Business Leaders of America at my school, when they said, okay, you can compete, what I would say section would you like to compete in? And I said, you know what, public speaking is necessary. So I'm going to, try impromptu speaking.
So you challenged yourself.
Yes, I it myself. And it was definitely hard. It wasn't necessarily the easiest. However, kind of like that freshman year, kind of like it really forced me to kind of engage and get out of my shell, which proved to be, advantageous now. So
yeah. Well, I remember when I was in middle school, or high school, taking a speech course and having to talk in front of a Kiwanis club. I was terrified. And, I muddled through it, but yeah, that was pretty brave of you. Okay. So we're almost out of time.
All right.
And I told you this runs really quick. You think, 30 minutes, how are we going to fill 30 minutes? No way. So anyway, before we want to thank you, but before I thank you, I want to thank again my sponsors, quickly, Braham Medical Institute, a Quigley Eye Specialist company. Thank you so much for sponsoring our show, 2550 Douglas Road, and South Florida PBS, great programming. We just had an amazing program that was live with Dr. Anthony Fauci and medical experts from all over the United States. And aside from that, go to South Florida PBS, go to allhealthtv.com. There's so many great things that are going on. And if you have any questions about your health-related issues, that's a great place to go and ask your questions. So again, thank you, Scott, for coming on today.
Thank you,
and Jordan, I am completely amazed by you.
So much.
And I so appreciate both of you coming in and sharing your story. I'm sure you're going to be an inspiration for anybody that's thinking about mentorship. It certainly shows how valuable it is to the student, but also I'm sure it gives you great satisfaction, Scott. And you're a good person. So, you picked a good one, Jordan. So thank you guys so much for coming and joining us today, and we'll see you next week.